Hey, this is Ramon, Channels Alpha 4, and today we're going to talk about something different. Today we are talking about the Koran. Alright, so, you might be wondering why I'm on the floor. Well, traditionally, at least from what I understand, when you talk about the Koran, you sit on the floor. Usually you talk with a group of people, so I guess you're my community. Alright, so I am using two translations. I am using the Penguin, and I am using the HarperOne, I believe. And let's get through some basics. Okay, so the Quran means oral recitation. Instead of chapters, it has surahs. Instead of verses, it has ara. Instead of books, it has juz. I don't know, J-U-Z. Now, here's a little interesting note. Are these the Quran? Well, it depends on whether or not you are a fundamentalist, although their word is not fundamentalist, they have a different word. But basically, for the traditionalist, the Quran is only a Quran if it's in Arabic. Otherwise, it's not. So, there's that. I'm going to also say, because there's a warning that I'm supposed to give, so I'm going to give the warning, which is, I don't speak or read Arabic. My ideas are just my opinions. I was not a companion, and I will not be using the Quran to justify itself. So, there. That's out of the way. Okay. What do I think about this so far? I'm reading roughly 50 pages a day of the study Quran, or transfers to about 20 pages a day out of the Penguin. The introduction and all the extra information in here is nice in the study. Is it as necessary as they make it sound? Like there's you have to go through every single commentary to get through it? I don't know, man. Me, I'm a just read it kind of guy, but I have two translations because, and even though this translation is very beautiful, sometimes it's a little hard to understand, even with the commentary. So it's nice to have this translation, which reads a little smoother when this one gets a little confusing. And with other texts that I have, I usually have 2 or 3 translations of anything that I read anyway, so it's not a big deal for me. The opening prayer, which, excuse my horrible Arabic, is Al-Fatiha. Okay. It is very beautiful. In the English, I believe it translates to Exordium. Yeah. And the prayer is beautiful. The difference in the translations, if you're wondering, is not as great as you think. For instance, if anyone who reads any ancient text, the translations can vary wildly. From the Penguin to the HarperOne, the translations are very close. The opening prayer is basically, it's a way to center yourself before reading, and it's also kind of a mission statement for what the text is supposed to do and for how you're supposed to view it. That it's not supposed to mislead you, it's supposed to guide you. Then we get into the first surah, and the first surah is the cow, and it is Al-Baqarah. It's kind of a recap of the Old Testament. It gives you kind of the Arabic or Muslim or Islamic take on those stories. To be honest with you, it is very Gnostic. There's a lot of stuff in here, a lot of extra oral tradition. This is more like commentary on those stories. And you're going to find all the characters that you know from the other books. They're in here. They show up. Everyone's called, a prophet or the people of the book, or, Solomon's in here. They mention everybody. Everyone who you think should be mentioned is mentioned. Their stories are extra biblical, as I said. They have a very strong warning against unbelievers and against those who would lead you astray, and how you want to stay on the we would say the one true path, but they'll say something more like how you don't want to become a disbeliever or an unbeliever. And it opens up with text that sounds pretty much like any kind of religious text you would see. Gospel, Old Testament, Hindu, Buddhist. If you're used to scripture of any kind, it reads like religious text. But I'm going to say maybe 100 verses in, basically you start seeing some what could be interpreted as anti-Jewish rhetoric. They start building the case for their problems with some of the things that were done. For instance, the golden calf, which this is kind of what that's about, except here they talk more about a sacrificial calf after the fact where they have to eat it and what kind of cow it is and what color the cow is. It's interesting. It has a lot of advice, and I would say that you don't really read this one straight through. I'm going to read it straight through because that's just how I like to read things, and that's how I read the Bible. But this one, you more want to just kind of open it and see where it takes you. Hopefully the next one will go smoother. Peace, like, and subscribe.